The Boyle's law is one of the gas laws that talks about how the pressure and volume of a substance are related. So let's start off with let's say pressure. Let's represent that by blue, and let's put volume in red. Volume. So most times, not all the times, but most times the pressure is measured in kPa, which stands for kilopascals, and the volume is usually measured in liters. Alright, so the formula of the Boyle's law is P1 times V1 is equal to keeping the same colors, so it'll be a little easier to understand, P2 times V2. Alright, so let's start off with what the Boyle's law really means. Alright, so the Boyle's law says that as the volume of a substance or a spot increases, let me put an arrow here to represent it increases, the pressure decreases. So as the volume of something increases, let me move a little down here. Let's say we have a cup right here, and there's a cap on the cup, and we have 4 atoms or molecules or whatever you want to call them right in that spot right there. They're a little more compact, so the pressure is a little higher. Let's say we had the same cup, but then that cap is all the way up here. The molecules are going to be as far away as possible because they don't want to be next to each other, so that means the pressure is a lot lower. So as the volume, you see right here, the volume was lower, and the pressure was higher, and now the volume is higher, and the pressure is lower. So anytime you have more volume, so if you have a circle and there's a few molecules right there, they want to be as far away as possible. So molecules want to go as far away as possible. The only reason they would ever be close to each other is if they're forced to, and if the volume that they have is a lot lower. Alright, so I'm going to give you guys an example of a Boyle's law question and use the formula that we just introduced. The P1 times V1 is equal to P2 times V2. This simply means that the pressure of the first substance they're working with times the volume is going to equal to the pressure of the second times the volume of the second. So say you have P1, P2, and V2, and you're looking for V1. What you would do here is you would simply multiply P2 by V2 right here. You would isolate P1. You divide both sides by P1, and you divide both sides by P1, and then you'd work from there to isolate V1. Alright, let's move on to an example question. The equation that you don't have. So right here it's V2. We don't have V2. So let's write out the equation first, and let's substitute what we know first. That would be the first step, generally speaking. That would be the first step, generally speaking. So you have P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. For those who want a more visual understanding, this could also just be represented as P1 times V1 is equal to P2 times V2. Essentially means the same thing. It's just that when there's brackets, maybe it could be a little easier to follow through with. Alright, so now let's replace what we know. So P1 is, I'll put in brackets, is 498.41 kilopascals. I won't put the units. And V1 is 83.387. And then on the other side we have P2, which is 0.09, and we have V2, which we do not know yet. So the first step you would need to do is, let me switch a color right here. You would multiply the two units that you already know. So we multiply P1 times V1, so you could simplify this expression a little more. So let's bring out a calculator right here, and let's see what P1 times V1 would be. So 498, let me go right here, 498.41 multiplied by 83.387, and that'll give you 41,000. Let me write that right here, 41,560.91, 41,560.91 560.91. I believe that's correct. Just to double check, you can never be too sure. 560.91, okay, that's correct. And on the other side, you would simplify this just as 90.40. Oh wait, I got that completely wrong. Let me undo that. Oops, it's 904.09 V2. Alright, so in this you're basically going to continue and do some basic algebra. So this is kind of like a one-step equation. I made a video on this. You would have to divide both sides by what your variable is attached to. Your variable is attached to right here. V2 is attached to 904.09. So you divide this by 904.09 and you divide this by 904.09. So on the right hand side of the equation, you're multiplying by 904 and you're dividing by 904, so these two can cancel out. So anytime you multiply something by a number and then you divide it by that same number, there's no point. Say if you have 2 and you multiply by 2, it'll give you 4, and then you divide it by 2, you have 2 again. So it's basically as if you did nothing. So now we have V2. Let's put V2 on the left hand side of the equation so you can understand it. Put a dot right here, and now we divide. Now we divide what we have. So we divide 41,560.91 and you divide it by 904.09. That will give you the liters for V2. So that would be 45.97. You'd round it 45.97. Don't forget the units, as it is a unit measurement, and that is the liters. Alright, so that was some information on the Boyle's law. What we know from this video is that the Boyle's law is obviously working with P for pressure. You have pressure, and V for volume. And the law says that as the pressure of something, as the volume of something increases, the pressure decreases, and as the pressure increases, the volume decreases. Alright, thank you guys for watching.